Hello, dear viewers, again to your session of Open Mic. Our this week's topic of discussion will be about our intangible cultural heritage, and joining us will be a knowledgeable person to this matter, an anthropologist, a former college lecturer at the College of Arts and Social Sciences, Dr. Senait Bahta. Dr. Senait, thank you for accepting my invitation again, and it's another pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Zahra, for having me.
Before we start talking about the topic, our intangible cultural heritage, and going far deep with it, it would be great to give our viewers a brief background about yourself.
Okay, my name is Senait Bahta, as you said, and I was born, raised, and educated here in Eritrea. I did some university course in my undergrad years in Ethiopia, Haile Selassie University. And then I did my master's in Kent, University of Kent in England. I did my PhD in North Carolina, University of Chapel Hill. And ever since I got my PhD, I was working as a teacher in Asmara University, in EIT, Mainafi, and in Adai House.
What is intangible cultural heritage in general?
Okay. Intangible cultural heritage is that part of culture that is reflecting the identity of the people, which is not tangible but ideational, in the sense that people express their identity through their mother tongue is one, the vehicle of transmitting intangible cultural heritage, their proverbs, their oral tradition, the arts, the skills, the indigenous knowledge of the cultural group, and all these capabilities that they acquire as the members of their society. So each particular cultural group has a way of reflecting their identity. So briefly, ICH is about the identity of a particular cultural group of people.
So we can say that without a cultural heritage, a nation cannot have an identity?
No, that's the only way to reflect their identity, because it's human to have culture. As you know, culture is the achievement or the creation of human beings, and they build or construct culture as they live and adapt to the changing environments around them. They create systems of social relationships, systems of resource regulations, systems of production and distribution and processing, the systems of expressing their ideas through their language, through proverbs, through different kinds of reflecting who they are, how they've come to be a group of people in this environment, their food or culinary traditions, the food they eat, which is also linked to their economic way of life, what they produce, the type of environment they have, and also the tradition or the ancestors that have passed to them the wisdom to live in that particular environment by forming a solidarity between them, their customary laws, traditional laws that we have. All this reflects who the people are and how they have adapted to that particular environment, because we live in a changing world. And to that changing environment, people keep creating and recreating their way of life, and that's what their identity is.
Apart from the tourismic aspect that the country or a nation would benefit from a cultural heritage, what other values does it have in nation building and national development in general?
Yeah, that's very important, because as I said, because people adapt knowledge systems, social systems, regulation systems, as they adapt to the changing environment, and they have a long history. And this kind of wisdom and capability systems has been transmitted from time to time, from generation to generations. Those are the mechanisms that help them survive that particular environment. If people are to develop, if development is to be sustainable, it's those systems that should be developed. And this is part of my current research area, and I love to speak about that. If you cut and paste other people's systems, it cannot be developed, because that system is developed for those people who live in a different environment, have different history, they have a different kind of social life. So it's the indigenous systems, customary laws, economic systems, social relationships, language, literature, and all these things that should be improved and recreated from time to time, and should be transmitted to the young generation, who will continue to develop them. Without developing the indigenous systems, other systems imported from outside, people can change from each other, can learn from each other. You know, there's diffusion of culture with our neighboring people, our neighboring societies. We learn from them, they learn from us, because there's always contact with people. Societies are not closed. So in the interactions, through trade, through cultural exchange, we borrow each other's ideas. But the core value of the system, of the society, is what reflects the identity of the people and what has helped them to survive in that environment. And development means developing those indigenous systems. And thus the identity giving in language, in systems, in laws, in other things, those are the ones that keep the people surviving or sustain in that particular environment.
So we can say it is a critical factor or pillar in national development.
It is, yeah, it is. And also, as UNESCO has explained it many times, it's to bring peace in this world. We have to respect each other's cultural identity, as you know. In whatever culture, in whatever society, there's no valuing of one culture to the other as higher or lower, because all people have adopted their culture in adaptation to their particular environment. So there is no higher culture or lower culture or civilized culture and civilized culture. So valuing equally all the cultures of the people is one of the leading principles of UNESCO. And, and through that only we can get peace in inter-societies.
Indeed. I cannot bear but ask you this question, but it's been a recent question. It's been a recent event, actually, about the recent recognition and spot at the UNESCO World Heritage that Asmara got. What were the factors that made Asmara be part of such a bigger foundation and more recognized internationally for its such cultural heritage, such cultural value as a yet-to-grow city?
Yes. It's a very important and timely question. This season is a season where all Eritreans have to be happy, because it's a great victory to inscribe our beautiful capital city, Africa's modernist city. Now it's not only the capital of Eritrea, but it's also World Heritage. It's a very great achievement that especially the Office of the Asmara Heritage Project have done. It's a lot of work that has been done in the past years, and it has been a great victory. Asmara is now inscribed as World Heritage because of its beauty. But as Dr. Edward, the expert in architecture, has rightly explained it, the passion of its people for their country. It's not because they are not capable of destroying it that they have preserved it, but the government policy not to change anything from this beautiful Art Deco. And the passion of the people, which is accommodating Asmara for all ages. The children want to go and walk through the streets, the elders, the pensioners have an open space where they can sit and chat about current events of the world. The youth have appointments and they meet there. It's accommodating for all ages of the society. And we can see reflected in the songs how Eritreans, all Eritreans, not only Asmarans, how they live, how they love Eritrea. So Dr. Edward is right when he said the passion of the people was the factor for preserving it. They did not destroy it. He said there are in many other countries, this modernist architect has been built some big buildings besides them or have been destroyed or something. Nothing has been touched, it has been preserved. And this is a credit for Eritrea. And the beautiful weather, Asmara, not only the buildings, but the hospitality of the people. It's very accommodating for all types of people. We can go back to the history of Asmara. They've been singing about Asmara Bella, Aron and others, and they really love it. The people love it, and they have kept it preserved. So it's Africa's modern city now. And so many factors have contributed to that. The research done has been accepted by UNESCO, and it's also a winning document, as it has been explained. And the thing is, not only Asmara that will be inscribed in UNESCO at this time. I see the inscription of Asmara as a result of peace in Eritrea. But so many things will be done now. This is only the beginning. There are 12 sites that have already been identified by UNESCO, Qahaito, Matara, Adulis, and many other sites. The rock art from Karora to Sanafe, and from the Red Sea to Gashbarka have to be inscribed. There's a lot of that. So a good amount of work has been done reflecting the significance of Asmara, not only to Eritrea, but to the world heritage. So it's a great victory for Eritrea. It's also a symbol of our independence.
Indeed.
It's a symbol of our independence. So that's how they have accepted it, not only for its colonial times beauty, but also the post-colonial independence, how the people have used the buildings for the parliament during the Federation. It was the site of parliament. And there are so many historical events that can be connected to the buildings. So I think it's a great victory for us. Yes.
On the point of view of archaeology and anthropology, what artifacts have been found to back this event up, to prepare Asmara, to prepare Eritrea to meet with the world in the view of cultural heritage, in the wider picture, to that matter? What did anthropology and archaeologists and anthropologists like yourself contributed? What have been so far been done?
Okay, that's a difficult question to answer, but very important also, because as I told you, there are archaeological and anthropological places that should be researched, identified. They're already identified, but the research process, the documentation, and according to the UNESCO guidelines to meet the requirements of that has to be, for Asmara to be inscribed, a lot amount of work has been done by different experts, not only by architects, engineers, but also so many studies have been done to show that it should be inscribed and it's of value to the world. And for all these anthropological and archaeological sites, starting from Haito, Matera, Adulis, and then the rock arts, and then our ICH. You go to Gashbarka, to the Nara and Kunama area, you cannot even finalize documenting the cultural heritage that we have. The traditional medicine of the different ethnic groups, because we are diverse cultural groups, our cultural elements are also diverse, bringing our diversity and it's our unity also. So to document that is one of the works that anthropologists and archaeologists have to do, to identify and research and document and put it in the format that the UNESCO will be bringing it to its table and to discuss. So a lot of work is awaiting for anthropologists, archaeologists, not only that, but all the multidisciplinary effects, geographers, historians, and I expect this, especially the college in Adaya, with all the sites around it, has to come with some dossier to present to the UNESCO, because there is numerous work to be done on anthropology and archaeology. So far, I don't think much has been done, but this is a good beginning of Asmara, and then Haito will follow, obviously, and then Adulis may follow next, and then there are others, archaeological and anthropological works that should be coming soon.
Did UNESCO take any measurements to put Asmara in such a picture? Did it take them any level? What levels did Asmara have to achieve to get there?
Yeah, it's inscribed under, there are criteria that the UNESCO give for such things to be in World Heritage. And one of the things that I told you is Asmara is preserved. It has maintained its authentic beauty and the artistic value, and then that's one. And then the integrity of it, nothing has been changed, nothing has been built inside it. So I think it's on the two criteria that Asmara has been inscribed. There are 5 criteria, but 2 criteria they have accepted, or it has fulfilled, so that's why they have accepted it. And for the other sites also, we have to bring them to prove that they fulfill this authentic and integrity and in other values that the UNESCO have measurements. So in order to be inscribed, we have to bring the research, the documents in line with that to prove that they should be inscribed. So UNESCO have taken a good study and examined the documents, as well as international experts have been here from Tel Aviv. I remember in a meeting where we had, and they have tried to ask questions to the steering committee about the documents so far prepared, and so many communication has been done between UNESCO and the Asmara Heritage Project Office, and after so many examinations is the result that Asmara is accepted.
Indeed. What kind of obstacles are faced in preserving such legacies and such legendary yet intangible national heritages in our today's world of technology and science? Mostly technology and science is blind of culture when coming with modernity. It's blind of value. What kind of obstacles are faced in that matter?
Well, what's coming to my mind is like there are so many heritage sites that should be inscribed, but First, the awareness of people using our technology from north to south, east to west. We have to make the people aware that, because according to the UNESCO guidelines, the community are the guardians and the stewards of the heritage. That reflects their identity. In some of our places, because they're not aware that changing the outside or the inside of that heritage will affect it's being inscribed. People are, if you go to Honda, they're plowing on the land where so many steles are falling there, so there needs to be something. They're taking elements from the heritage sites to put when they're building their houses. So many obstacles are with that. We need to control sooner so that these places will not be disrupted. As you said, the value of culture, that we have the UNESCO rules now, that all cultures are equally valued. And no matter how the technology will, like in development, will try to use the machines to build roads and houses on top of the historical sites. That's one danger that technology is putting in preserving the historical sites. So the government and the heritage responsible people will work in line so that such work for development purpose. In some countries, that's what they've built. They've destroyed places that are historical to build roads and railways and on top of that, because what is coming as priority is urbanizing their places. So this is affecting that. So technology should not interfere, as you said, with preserving cultural heritage. So anything that's being built, I think our city, that's why our city is intact. Its integrity and authenticity is full, because nothing has been built near the historical building, a big building or a small building. Nothing has been concerned. The government has been protecting it. So no technology was able to come in and build skyscrapers or anything near that. So as you say rightly, only development for material development and not preserving the culture of the people will not be for the people. It will be against development. So that's the obstacle that shouldn't come to our country, hopefully.
Hopefully. What are some of our so far non-preserved yet heritages, yet believed to still be under deep research or even believed to be existing?
Yeah, if I will come to my field, cultural anthropology, there was a huge data collected since 1982 during the independence struggle of our traditional customary, because every ethnic group, every cultural group in Eritrea has its own customary law. That is a unique factor in Eritrea. And I think our customary law should be inscribed. We have to bring them to the fact that no other country, when colonizers come, they come and make or prepare laws for them. We always have our own laws, and each ethnic group has its own customary laws. This is a big factor, and should be, I think, some work should be done on this. But also, it has been researched since 1982 to document this during the war and even after the war. This research by the Cultural Office has been continuing to document all these things before the people who are knowledgeable will pass,
Indeed.
So that's one thing that has to come to the complete work. This is still on the process. So this has to be a big source for inscribing many of our cultural elements. But also, if I mention, for instance, the traditional medicine or plant medicine. Eritrea is rich in plant medicine. The diverse biodiversity, especially in Gashbarka, but also in the highlands, are endowed with much medicinal plants, and the knowledge is there. So work has been started by the then University of Asmara Medicinal Drug Discovery Center, and 3,000 traditional medics have been interviewed, their names collected, and plants and all these things have been gathered. But I think this is being continued by the Ministry of Health also, as I heard in some meetings. But this has to come to identify some unique factors of this end, but also to put it in practice, because some countries like Ghana have come with their traditional medicine updated, and in the universities, formalizing the education system in the local knowledge. So we have to bring this knowledge into our curriculum and then teach the young generation so they will know and modernize it. There is departments in Ghana, in Kenya, South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal University on local medicine. Our local medicine is rich, but we have not yet been able to put it in our curriculum, though I believe there's a lot of research that has been done, but it has to come to the open, and young students will learn it and use it, and then that is what development is, to my understanding.
Exactly. It has to be backed up
Yes.
with one another's ideas, contributions, and also the act of togetherness in preserving.
Or multidisciplinary action is needed in this, both science, natural science and social science, and then collective effort to bring this up, because it's from that knowledge, even the Western medicine and other knowledge has come.
Definitely.
They gather knowledge from what was previously known by all these different people, and then they brought it to the modern times. So it's our knowledge that's being used by others. Why can't we use it? That's my question.
Indeed. What about Asmara? I think some of us do believe, and in fact all of us do believe, that Asmara has a lot to say, has a lot to show, not only the Art Deco. Can we excavate more from Asmara only?
Yes, you're right. That's correct, because as the archaeologists will know more about this, but there have been a lot of sites that has not been excavated but identified in Mai Tamanai, Mai Johot, around Bet Gargish, where our archaeologists are knowledgeable about this, and they believe that Asmara is built on above another city. There's a city below this ground. And so there are some artifacts, remnants that have been found from Mai Tamanai, from Mbadorho, which is also closer to Asmara, from around Bet Gargish, Mai Johot, and other places. So a lot of excavation is waiting, indeed. So Asmara is surrounded. It's also below Asmara. It's believed that there is history that should be excavated. So you're right that there's a lot of archaeological work awaiting to be done, and even if we'll find time for that in our lifetime.
Hopefully, we will. What benefits does Eritrea have in the near future being among the UNESCO World Heritage, and what are the factors for such benefits?
Yeah, a number of factors. Now that it's recognized as World Heritage, then there will be a responsibility of the UNESCO to maintain it by, like there are many places like Alfa Romeo that if we leave them as they are, will collapse. So they need maintenance. So it will be the responsibility of UNESCO. But also it will attract tourists. As Ambassador Anna has rightly said, you're all welcome to our beautiful Asmara. So of course, to visit a World Heritage inscribed city, it will be a lot of tourist industry, and a lot of income will be coming from that, and a lot of other advantages that will come with growing tourist industry, and there will be other benefits, of course. The thing is, we just started inscribing. Asmara is the first.
Exactly.
Other countries, if we see them, what they've done is once they have inscribed one, then they've come quickly to inscribe many others.
Exactly.
So it should be a good start that Asmara is inscribed now, and then we have to fast and organize it, continue the work of bringing our heritage. Asmara is as important as other heritage at this time. It's not the size, but it's the only city in the world in such a small area with so many artistic buildings of aesthetic value. So it's unique. That's what has made it inscribed.
Definitely.
So it's really on equal level with other heritage,
so
even though it's the beginning that we have done it.
So we are guaranteeing in the near future that Asmara will stay there for a very long time.
Yes, Asmara is there to stay as World Heritage.
As a World Heritage. What about the government's effort and contribution on this matter?
Yeah, a lot of work has been done. The government, when you inscribe a heritage, the work is of three factors you can divide. First, there are the community, as the UNESCO says, and then there is the state as an actor, the management plan, the codes, the laws for preserving it, and all these things. This is government policies. Unless the government has a policy of preserving and of managing in terms of disaster, in terms of earthquake, in terms of other dangers, the government has to have a plan of how it will protect the heritage sites. So all these documents have been prepared by the government, of course, paid and hiring skilled people. So the policy enabled us to start the work. And then the convention, the UN Convention, in particular to ICH, the 2003 Convention, UNESCO Convention, which is for the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage and other conventions of tangible and natural. We also have natural heritage, like our sea coast and our greenbelt areas, and then the unique species that we have. And all this has its own laws and its own programs by UNESCO, and our country is member state of all that, and that's the effort of the state. So the three actors will be the community, the state, and then the international actor, which is the UNESCO, which assists the state party to go in preserving and documenting all this heritage that will have international value or world value. Definitely. So the government has a major role to play.
Definitely. Are there any future plans to inscribe in the nation a national convention including youth from graduates of anthropology and archaeology for preserving further and excavating and researching for further intangible, also tangible cultural heritages?
Yeah, my understanding is now that the work will continue. Once now that we are victorious over Asmara, and then we have to start. Already 12 sites have been identified. And as I told you, there are how many thousands of sites by the way, Eritrea has the most numerous rock art in Africa, or I don't know if it is wider than that. So this has to give opportunities to these young graduates from archaeology and anthropology to go out under an organized, of course, we have a commission for culture and sport now. We recently had training, community-based training for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage, which was led by the Commission of Culture and Sport, and with the assistance of UNESCO. And the representatives of UNESCO were here with an international expert who gave 10 days training for young people, as well as commissioners from the 6 regions. So there is a plan for, as you said, for conducting inventorying in the 9 different ethnic groups. We have thousands of elements of ICH that should be inventoried, and then from there, this training that went on in last May has brought community members as well as experts and commissioners from the ZOBAS. And now immediately we're going to elect or select some elements from the 9 ethnic groups on ICH, and then we're going to do inventorying. And many young people will be participating at that with their profession, with their graduation of archaeology, history, law, multidisciplinary. And then we'll be inventorying and sending the forms to UNESCO. And there will be another workshop like we had in May, in mid-October. At the time we'll go like that. And then that will be the day when we'll be writing report on the 2 elements we have selected from each 9 ethnic groups, 18 elements. This research inventorying will be conducted, and then evaluation of that. The UNESCO people will come again, we'll go on evaluating that, and then the work will continue with a national task force formed for inventorying, because as the documents tell us, inventorying national intangible cultural heritage cannot be completed. It's indefinite, because there are so many oral traditions, there are so many proverbs and sayings, there are so many food traditions or culinary traditions in Eritrea. And then there are also social practices, rituals, belief systems, and all these things, and the traditional crafts. Imagine from the 9 ethnic groups, how many elements will be inventoried if we are to do nationwide inventorying. It will never be, as in other countries also we have experienced that there will not be a limit to that. We'll go on inventorying, and there will be much opportunity for young people to come and research in that aspect.
Dr. Senait, it was a pleasure to have you with me here today.
Thank you, Rasha.
And until we meet again in our next show, thanks for watching.